Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Chomping at the bit, of course. Now, this episode, I want to talk about the US men's national team. The World Cup is about 9 days away, on the 20th, I believe. And we found out the US men's national team's World Cup squad that they're going to be sending over to, I'm sure over the next week or so, you'll hear this country's name said different ways, whether it's Qatar, Qatar, whatever. But we all know surrounding the this World Cup. Normally, the World Cup's in the summer. Weather conditions didn't allow for that, so we're gonna have a winter World Cup. I'm interested to see what that looks like. Um, I guess to let you guys know, I'm a big soccer fan. It was the first sport I played as a kid, especially when it comes to the World Cup. I'm locked in. I love watching the World Cup. You know, seeing players playing for their country. You usually get the best. I don't know if you say the best soccer, but it's usually the most compelling. I will say that because once you get out of the group stage, you're in the knockout round. Each game just takes on that much more importance because conceding a goal just feels like a bigger deal in the knockout stage. Even in the group stage, though, you have to navigate your three games, see how many points you probably need to get out of your group, and find ways to get to that number. But taking the U.S. into consideration, I think this is going to be a great learning experience for this team. They're one of the younger teams going to the World Cup this year. After missing the past couple of World Cups, it's going to be good to see the U.S. back on the world stage, going up against great competition, which we'll get into in a little bit in terms of their group and possible teams you could see if they did make the knockout stage. But um, we'll see Greg Berhalter, the manager, see the work that he's put in with this team and what does that look like going up against some world powers and all that. So, like I said, I'm excited to see it. But this episode, I'm going to go through the the roster that was announced. I guess give some snubs that might have been out there and kind of explain why those guys might not have been picked. See if I like the roster is going, and then at the end of the episode, kind of let you know if I think this squad is good enough to make it out of the group stage. How far could they go in the knockout round? So hopefully, you guys are big soccer fans like myself. But if not, and you want to get into soccer, I think the World Cup is the perfect place to start because, like I said, you'll see a lot of the big names that if you're just sitting around on a random day, um, you go to the Premier League to see some of these guys, you go to MLS to see some of these guys, La Liga. So it's a lot of different places, but when it comes to the World Cup, it's all centralized. A couple of stadiums, but the games that are on, you'll get to see it all at once. So, like I said, trying to get into soccer, start with the World Cup, and I guarantee you it will make you a fan of it. And then after that, you can kind of choose what league you want to watch. But definitely a good time. So, we'll start with the goalkeepers. That's usually pretty important spot to start with in terms of the roster. So, right now, they're going to take Matt Turner, who's over at Arsenal, I believe. Ethan Horvath, who's with Luton Town. Sean Johnson, he's the MLS product. He's with NYCFC. I gotta say, I like this group. I mean, the name that everybody was looking for was Zach Steffen because it seemed like just a couple of years ago, Zach Steffen was the guy in terms of goalkeeping. But since he's moved on to Europe, he started with like Man City, and it was like a couple of years ago. His play started dipping a little bit for Man City. It seemed like he's more known for missteps in net than stellar play. And I think that that's probably the main reason why he's not on this World Cup roster. So I'm not too mad at him being left off. It is maybe a little disheartening to see that he's fallen off to the point where he's not even in the top three of U.S. goalkeepers. But these three, I'd have all the confidence in the world in them. I'm assuming Matt Turner will probably be your number one. Horvath is probably the one that U.S. fans may know the least about, but through World Cup qualifying and stuff like that, Horvath played a few games, and he looks like a guy who he can command the net. So not mad at that. And Sean Johnson's been one of the top goalkeepers in MLS for the past few years. So I'm fine with them rewarding his good play there with a World Cup trip. Um, we'll have to see in terms of how much these guys get played. I don't think Berhalter's going to go with like each one of them getting one of the group stage games, but who knows? Maybe he does do that. But I expect to see Matt Turner at least for two out of the three, and then the third game, maybe it's Sean Johnson. I don't know, but I have no problem with the goalkeeping group. So now the defenders, we have uh, Anthony Robinson. So okay, I guess I should start with the U.S. normally plays a 4-3-3, so four defenders, three midfielders, and three forwards. So looking at this defender group, you have Robinson and Sergino Dest, who will be your left and right back. So they'll play closest to the sidelines, the touch line, as defenders. And then inside of those two, Walker Zimmerman's definitely your starting center back. I think the question is going to be between Tim Ream and Aaron Long for the second center back spot. I think we'll probably see Ream to start number one. We'll start game number one. But I think we'll definitely see Aaron Long start at least one of the games in the group stage as well. Yedlin, Shaq Moore, Joe Scally, Cameron Carter Vickers have no problem with the defense group. The one snub might have been um, not even the snub because Miles Robinson would have been on the World Cup roster, but he's hurt, so that's not really a snub. Um, Yedlin is a guy who's been around the U.S. team for some time now. He's still pretty young, but he's a name that we all know. And I fully expect to see him be, because pretty sure they're using the five sub rule in the World Cup. You could bet that Yedlin will probably be one of the five most games. He's gonna be in one of the either left back or right back spot. He's a guy who's comfortable getting up into the attack, but has the pace to get back on defense when needed. So I think you'll see a lot of him during the World Cup. But yeah, I like the defender group. No questions there. All right, so midfielders, you have, so like I said, 4-3-3. So three of these guys will be starting, and I think it's going to be McKennie, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa. Brendan Aronson will probably be one of the five subs you see a lot because he's a guy who can get into space, um, make runs when the defense, leaves a spot open. You'll see Kellen Acosta because he's a guy when you need service into the box. Kellen Acosta is a guy that you can count on to put a quality ball into the box. Also on free kicks, Kellen Acosta is a weapon in terms of free kicks around the box. We actually saw that in the MLS Cup. He's the guy who did score the first goal off of a free kick. Rolled on Luca De La Torre. Yeah, they're depth pieces. You might see them in a game. Um, any snubs in terms of the midfield? Uh, Not really. I don't think so. Um, Trying to think. Yeah, I don't think there was any snubs there. At least none that's too glaring. Yeah. All right. So the wingers. So once again, 4-3-3. So these will be. You'll see two of these guys starting. They'll basically be the two guys in the left wing, right wing spot, flanking your striker in the middle. So you have a group of Pulisic, Reyna, Jordan Morris, Tim Weah. Pulisic and Reyna will be your starters. Jordan Morris, I think, is a great story. He's coming back from what, two ACL surgeries, and the fact that he's worked his way back into good form, and he was a big piece to World Cup qualifying. Scored a couple of goals, I believe. So I have no problem with him going over with the team. You know, him off the wing, he brings I think a little bit physicality that maybe you don't get from Pulisic or Reina because Morris is a bigger guy. Tim Weah, he's one of the younger guys on the roster, but I like his pace and his skill as well. So he's another guy you'll probably see, depending on matchups and what's needed. He's definitely a sub you could see coming in off the bench. And then finally the strikers. So like I said, this is the one in the middle of the two wingers on your forward line. So you have Jesus Ferreira, Josh Sargent, Haji Wright. Now, this group might be the most maybe speculated about because I think fans of the U.S. team have questions about who's going to be that guy you can count on to put the ball in the back of the net. Fully expect Jesus Ferreira to get every opportunity to be the guy to start with. Um, Ferreira does have a knack of scoring goals. It's just that he could kind of be hot and cold in terms of that. Usually with him, if he scores a goal, he's a good chance he could get you a second one. But then there's going to be some games where, he may not be on the end of a lot of crosses and stuff like that, you know, through balls in the box. And he might be a forgotten guy at times. But that's going to be on Pulisic, Reina, or McKennie and Adams in the midfield to find him in those spots where he can, have a quick turn, get a shot on goal. But I think he'll be fine. Sargent, good choice, have no problem. Um, Haji Wright, probably one of the newcomers to the roster. He came in, I think, later on in World Cup qualifying. I think the story was like he's good friends with Pulisic, I think. But Wright, when I see Haji Wright play, he gives me vibes of Josie Altidore, except for I think Haji Wright's a better version of Josie Altidore because Josie Altidore just never seemed to fully work, whether it was injuries or I don't know, conditioning, form, whatever. Never seemed like Altidore lived up to expectations that people had for him. I think Haji Wright can be that same type of forward where he's a bigger body, he can hold off guys, he can score with either foot, he's good in the air with his head. So expect to see if the U.S. is down a goal, maybe they have a late corner. Haji Wright might be a guy who comes on to give them that added element of being able to go up and get on the end of a cross. In terms of strikers, I don't think there was well, um, what's his name? Well, Jordan Peafolk and the second guy's name is Ricardo Pepi. Those are the two strikers who maybe there's some discussion about. I think Pepi, he's one of those where U.S. fans are. You almost find a lot of them that are on the fence about him. There's a lot that see his potential and think that he probably should be here. And I think there's others who think that he may not necessarily be ready for this stage. I kind of fall into that group. I think Pepe's going to be a guy maybe for the next World Cup who should be a major part of the roster. But for this one, I'm fine with him not being there. I just want to back up real quick for the wingers. I think Paul Areola is probably a guy some people were thinking might have been on the roster. But Areola, I think, not to say his time's done because he's one of the kind of older guys, but um, I understand why he's not on here. I think with Kellen Acosta in the midfielding group, he could kind of give you a lot of what Paul Areola would have given you if he was on a team as a guy who puts quality crosses into the box. So I'm okay with taking Acosta over Areola. But it's an interesting group. I've liked what I've seen Beerhalter doing with this team. I know Beerhalter's been a guy with a lot of criticism at points, but I believe he's trying to bring in a squad that he wants to try to use their athleticism and youth as a strength, meaning he wants to get these guys pressing, high when teams are trying to play out of the back, try to cause turnovers that way and get opportunities that way. But, you know, also having guys who are able to get back on defense, and if they get the ball in their foot, be able to, play out of the back, create, go on long runs, and really get the defense on their heels. So it's definitely an interesting group. Like I said, one of the younger sides in the World Cup. So to me, in terms of, you know, what should be seen as realistic possibilities for this group, I think they should be able to get out of the group. It's it's a tough group. It's Group B, so you have England, who everybody's expecting to be the team to come out of Group B in the one spot. Depending who you ask, the second team could be any one of the three between Iran, the U.S., and Wales. I mean, for England, we know Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane, guys like that on their attack. The England squad is talented. I think where England could get in trouble is they do play kind of a conservative game, and that's from their manager Southgate, who a lot of England fans aren't necessarily fans of. But England likes to play 1-0 type of games, 2-0 counter-attacking. So you have to be careful with the ball against a team like England. Uh, with Wales, Gareth Bale, what he did getting Wales into the World Cup, commendable. He kind of put that nation on his back and got them there. So I think Wales coming into this with a lot of confidence, but I think they're going to be using a lot of, you know, not a lot of expectations. So they'll probably just leave it out there, all out there on the pitch, and try to steal some points with their first couple of games. Iran, I look at Iran like I look at a lot of those Northern African squads, your Morocco's, Tunisia's, Egypt, as well as your um, Middle Eastern teams, Iran, Iraq, squads like that, where when you go up against teams like that, they have a lot of guys that like to press and they like to force turnovers against other countries. So against a team like Iran, the U.S. is going to have to be really careful playing out of the back that they don't get careless with the ball, because Iran's one of those teams that could take full advantage of that. So it's a challenging group to work through, but I think the U.S. should be able to get out of this group. I think to get out of this group is going to take at least 5 points out of the three games. That's what I think. So, if you go against England, if you can draw there, fine. Try to win one of the games between Iran and Wales and then draw the other. I think the U.S. would be fine getting out of the group. And then in terms of the knockout stage, you know, Group B, I believe, would go against Group A. So if the U.S. can come second in Group B, they'd get the number one squad in Group A, which would probably be the Netherlands. I mean, that'd be a tough ask to win that in the knockout stage, but it would be definitely a good experience for this U.S. team. So I think in that case, it'd still be a win. If they come first in the group and they get second in Group A, probably be Senegal. And you're dealing with Mane and guys. Senegal's another team that I put in like that Morocco group where they like to press and all that. Um, so yeah, even if they don't get out of the group stage, I'm not going to sit here and kill Beerhalter. It's just going to be more of an eye test thing with this group. How does it look? Do they look like they belong on the world stage? And if they do, whatever the results are, I can live with it. But if they go up against England and get destroyed like 4-0, if they go against Wales, lose like 3-0, 3-1, and then Iran gets them 2-0, and it's a squad that doesn't score any goals or anything like, then I could say it's a definite loss. But They hold their own, make it out of the group, big time win. They even win a knockout stage, then Beerhalter should be the manager for the next 20 years. I mean, it's kind of a joke, but I'm just saying that would be next level. If they found a way to win the whole World Cup, I don't even know what U.S. fans would do. I mean, if they did that, probably have to do something special on an episode with that happen. But my question for you guys in the comment section is: do you think with this squad that they have and the starters I told you I expect them to have, that they can make it out of the Group B and make the knockout stage? We'll leave it at that. So let me know down in the comment section what your thoughts are on the roster and whether or not it's a good enough roster. And if you think some of the snubs that are out there should be on the team, let me know. And let me know maybe who you would have taken off the roster to put those guys on. But we're a little over a week out from the World Cup. I can't wait. And I think it's going to be a great time. Soccer, see it in the winter time is going to be a little odd. It's going to be right before Thanksgiving, last until like right before Christmas. So you're gonna get a lot of World Cup, a lot of NBA, NFL, all mixed in. So we'll have to see. But thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, you know what to do. Hit the like button. Subscribe over on YouTube. You can follow Chomping at the Bit on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at Chomping Podcast. Um, Other social media, like Instagram, like Kyle.Edwards, like 3393. Follow me there. But I really appreciate you guys. You know, as I always say, be safe out there. God bless. And I'll catch you in the next episode. All right. Have a good one. Have a good day.